Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, once again, I will be trying to present to you my perspective about the current events, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who is questioning a lot of things, including what the media is showing us. Mind you, I don't have a TV set, I don't watch mainstream media. However, a lot of images that are circulating around you have to question, as well as you have to question the actors, the characters who are playing the roles of important people in politics. Sometimes they look very different than they used to, not many years ago. So you just wonder how many of those actors are playing the same role. I think many of you know where I'm heading with this. But before I jump into the first video that I found for you, this will be with Netanyahu from 2001. I would like to kindly ask you to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and leave the comments down below if you feel like, of course. This is all free of charge and it really helps with YouTube algorithm. Some of you probably know my channel has been slightly suppressed lately, which I'm not complaining about. However, I think there might be some people in the world who would like to see a different side of things, and that will stimulate their own critical thinking, because there is one thing that we have power of our own way of thinking. So guys, unless you give it away and you get influenced by others, right? So let's look at this video first, and then I take you to the story about a port in Israel. Let me mute myself.
קודם כל, לתת להם מכות, לא רק מכות כל כך מחריבות, שהמחיר יהיה כבד מצוא. כרגע המחיר לא כבד מצוא. על התקפה רבת היקף על הרשות הפלסטינית. מדברת על הפחד שהכל מתמוטט.
לא פוחדים, צוחקים להם, יראו לנו לתוך הישרת וצחוק ופשוט הם לא פוחדים לצחוק.
זה מה שמביא אותם
ואז רגע, אבל אז השוק מהעולם יגיד מה, אתם פוגשים?
אני לא יודע להגיד כלום.
אתה לא מפחד מהעולם, ביבי.
במיוחד היום עם אמריקה, אני יודע מה זה אמריקה. אמריקה זה לא שאפשר להזיז אותו בקלות, להזיז לכיוון הנכון. הוא לא יחריב לו.
אז שאם אנחנו עושים איזה משהו, אז הם...
יש שווה, אז נניח שהם אומרים משהו. אז אמרו, 80% מהאמריקאים תומכים בנו. זה אבסורד. לא פחדתי להתעמת שם. לא פחדתי להתעמת עם קלינטון. לא פחדתי להתעמת עם אובמה. מה היו הסכמי אוסלו? הסכמי אוסלו שהכנסת חתמה עליהם. שאלו אותי, גם כבר תתקיים. אוקיי, בתנאי כפוף להדדיות וצמצום הנסיבות. אבל איך אתה מצמצם את הנסיבות? אני אתן פירוש להסכם שיאפשר לי להפסיק את הדהירה הזאת לקווי 67. איך עשינו את זה? אף אחד לא אמר מה זה אתרים צבאיים מוגדרים. אתרים צבאיים מוגדרים, אני אמרתי, אלה אזורי בקעת הירדן, מבחינתי זה אתר צבאי מוגדר.
נכון.
זה אוקיי.
יישובי בית שאן, עמק בית שאן.
לך תגיד. אבל אז הייתה שאלה, מי יגדיר מה זה אתרים צבאיים מוגדרים? קיבלתי מכתב מכריסטופר, אליי ולרפ"ט, באותה לשון, שאומר שישראל בלבד היא זו שתגדיר מה הם את מיקום האתרים הצבאיים האלה ואת גודלם. עכשיו, הם לא רצו את המכתב הזה, אז לא נתתי את הסכם כמובן. הפסקתי את ישיבת הממשלה, אמרתי, אני לא חושב. רק כשהגיע המכתב, תוך כדי הישיבה, אליי ואל הרפ"ט, חתמתי על הסכם. תגיד לו שעדיף לתת 2% מאשר לתת 100%. וזו הברירה שעומדת כאן הפרק. ואתה נתת 2%, ובזה עצרת את הנסיגה הזאת במקום 100%.
So I think you understand where I'm going with this as far as his approach. And that was the real Netanyahu, I believe. I will give you my comment about how much now he can influence President Trump after I play a few more other videos. But first, let's go to this one. This is from yesterday. Let me show you one second. Let me find it, guys. There was an attack by Iran on Haifa. Haifa is a port, Israeli port. This took place yesterday. So let's look at this location. What is so interesting about Haifa? Well, I came across this article that I would like to share with you. China expands Haifa port near Israeli naval base, raising security concerns. Let's read it. This is from April 5th this year, 2025. Haifa. The Israeli government has quietly approved a major expansion of the Chinese-operated Haifa Bay port, located, so China operates this port, Haifa Bay port, located just 1.8 kilometers from Israel's most sensitive naval base. The new regulations signed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu grant Shanghai International Port Group, SIPG, access to 2 additional cargo quays, I think that's how you say it, significantly increasing China's operational presence on Israel's northern coast. Kind of reminds me of Los Angeles, I'm just saying. The Haifa Bay port, operated by CIPG, is a crucial infrastructure project aimed at modernizing Israel's port facilities. Originally planned in 2009, construction began in 2015 and operations started in 2021 to accommodate large container ships that previously wouldn't dock in Israel. Well, I think that's one side of it, right? Because there are other crucial points about this location. However, security analysts have raised alarms over the port's proximity to Israel's submarine fleet and missile boat squadrons, warning of potential espionage risk due to Chinese-made cranes and embedded, I think that's how I say, embedded, sorry for my English, communication systems. Critics argue that Chinese involvement in Haifa could pose long-term security threats, particularly with China's growing ties to Israel's regional adversaries. The Trump administration had publicly warned in 2019 that Chinese control of Haifa could compromise US naval operations. Intelligence officials in both the US and Israel cautioned that China could use its infrastructure presence for surveillance, impacting US warships that regularly dock at Haifa. Concerns over Chinese expansion in Haifa have intensified due to China's depending alliance with Iran and its indirect support for the Houthis. Intelligence reports have linked Chinese technology and weapons components to Houthi missile development. Additionally, COSCO, a Chinese state-owned shipping giant, severed ties with Israel during the Gaza war, a move widely interpreted as politically motivated. The expansion also threatens to complicate US-led efforts, such as the India-Middle East Economic Corridor, where Haifa plays a key logistical role. Critics argue by allowing China greater access, Israel risks alienating key allies, including the United States, which has pushed to limit Beijing's influence in global trade routes. The decision to expand China's footprint at Haifa Bayport highlights the growing tension between economic cooperation and national security. As the expansion progresses, further scrutiny and international discussions are expected, with Israel balancing its strategic partnership while managing potential security threats. All right, I'm not giving you my opinion here. I know some of you already probably have it established by media or other experts, but that's not my place. I will tell you in a second. Now, let's go to, where shall we go? to President Trump. Two short clips from his Q&A with few journalists. He was answering some questions. The first one I would like you to listen to. This is in a continuation of, you remember Ted Cruz, that was publicly exposed by Tucker Carlson, and you could see it in my latest video. He's not the only one who operates like this. We know Lindsey Graham as well, and many others. But here is what Trump had to say about, especially Lindsey Graham, putting those peace talks between Russia and Ukraine that US, the Trump administration, was trying to establish into jeopardy by going to Ukraine. This will be first clip, and then there will be a direct clip about Israel. So let me take you here. Just a second, I mute myself.
You've been making progress towards a peace deal, but I don't know if you know this, but Lindsey Graham and Mike Pompeo were there on the ground in Ukraine, seemingly doing the opposite, trying to provoke the Ukrainians to keep fighting. What do you think of that?
Well, we're going to see, and people have to be very careful with what they say. They got to be very careful with their mouth, because their mouth can get them into a lot of trouble.
One more. Ice.
Just want to tune in for a moment. So their mouth can get them into a lot of trouble. Just gonna leave it there. If you understand, you understand. Now let me play another part in which Trump is addressing the question if Israel has limited capacity. That's a good question. How far Israel can go. So let's take a listen to this. Let me just find it, guys, one moment.
With me.
One more. Prime Minister Netanyahu said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they, if Israel says that they have all of the abilities,
Well,
their own
I'm not
military?
sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They can break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary. Would you like to?
So here is Trump saying they have very limited capacity and they can only break into some small section, and maybe it won't be necessary. Okay, I give you my comment now about what I think as far as this goes. And the last video that I will play for you will be the perfect explanation of the forces behind the scenes that once again are trying to create havoc, even though they already lost, okay? They already lost. A last attempt, more exposure. Let me tell you what I think. First and foremost, I think we are witnessing in a very fast pace the exposure of those people who are in US government and also other governments, but US government, if we focus on this, who are the warmongers, and they are not even hiding this anymore, as they are supporting what Israel is doing. Just a reminder, official story. Again, I question everything. So Israel attacked Iran first, okay? Why they did this? Preventive measures, whatever is their justification of it. Now when there is retaliation from Iran, and Iran is bombing places, let's say hospital is destroyed, Now everyone is saying how they can do it, but when Israel was bombing Gaza, smashing this to the ground, they were not so concerned, right? So we are watching this. Now people are asking questions. More and more people are asking questions. Why Israel is doing this? Why Israel is saying that US has to support this, right? Well, not Israel, I'm talking Netanyahu. Why Netanyahu is doing this? And what's going to happen is, ultimately, we see majority of people absolutely doesn't want to be involved in this and just want peace. So, in my opinion, wants Trump. But many of you don't agree with this, and I'm okay with that. You're gonna see a lot of people behind the scenes who are trying everything to create a conflict. And I don't think they will succeed in that. I might be wrong, but I hope I'm right. As they are trying to stop negotiations between Russia, Ukraine, Russia and United States is still having communication line going on. That hasn't changed. I tell you one more time, Putin and Trump are fighting the same evil. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take you to President Putin, who is answering a question about the New World Order. Well, actually, he mentioned the New World Order. That was not in a question. But the great question that was asked is Israel setting the new rules? And I would like you to hear what Putin had to say. And then we go back to my final video of today. That is the best description of what forces are trying to stop any peace negotiations. Let it be Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, stabilizing that region. Let me take you to Putin first, and then we go to the final video. Thank you for watching, by the way.
Let me bring the conversation from
А сейчас, если позволите,
values
я
to
хотел бы
closer to the
перевести наш
conflict
разговор
areas
от
and
общей
in
беседы
the
о
world.
ценностях к разговору о конкретных зонах
President Putin,
конфликтов в мире.
Israel
Президент
said that
Путин, ранее вы сказали
the statements are normalizing
о том,
the
что
fact that a
мы
country
слышим
might
заявления,
kill
которые
the president
пытаются
of another country.
нормализовать сам факт
That's
того, что
basically
одна страна
the
может убить
conclusion
президента
of last
другой
week's
страны.
statements.
Это, по сути дела, вывод из тех
Yes,
заявлений, которые мы
Ayatollah
слышали за
Khamenei is
последние
not
несколько
head
недель.
of state,
Да,
but he
безусловно, можно
has
говорить о
enough
том, что
gravitas
духовный
to be
лидер
considered
Ирана,
as head
строго
of
говоря,
state
не глава государства,
and to be
но,
protected
тем не
by
менее,
the
Али
articles
Хаменеи
of
обладает
international law.
необходимыми полномочиями
But
для того,
when
чтобы
we
наслаждаться
normalize
принципами
the
международной
idea,
защиты.
no matter
Тем
where
не
you
менее,
stand on Iran,
неважно, какую
when we
позицию вы
normalize the
занимаете по
idea of a
Ирану,
country
когда
killing the
мы
president
пытаемся
of another country
нормализовать сам факт
publicly,
того, что президент одной страны
what kind
может
of
призывать к
new
убийству
rules are being
президента
set,
другой
they are
страны, можем ли мы
obviously
говорить о том, что возникают какие-то новые
contradictory to the kind
правила?
of values you're
Очевидно,
trying to put
эти
forward.
правила, если о них так можно
Isn't-
говорить, противоречат тем ценностям, о которых мы здесь говорили, не правда ли?
You know, colleagues have spoken here, and I try to jot down a few things for myself to recall them later. I also noted what you, dear colleague, have just said. You mentioned the following when you were debating with my colleague from the People's Republic of China. You said, and I wrote it down, the Russian Federation and China are forming a new world order. Russia and China are not forming a new world order. We are merely formalizing it. The new world order is emerging naturally. It's like the sunrise. You can't stop it. What we are doing What we are doing is simply formalizing it and perhaps clearing the way for this process so that it becomes more balanced and meets the interests of the overwhelming majority of countries. We very much hope that all countries will become aware of this and will ultimately understand, as I've already said, that this approach, the approach of finding solutions, is better than the approach of pressure. And in fact, better than the essentially neo-colonial world order that humanity has lived under for many, many centuries, if not millennia.
Would you allow Mr. President to go
Если вы
back to the
позволите,
question
господин
about
президент, я хотел бы вернуться к своему первому вопросу. Вопрос относительно нормализации вот подобной риторики, когда президент одной страны допускает убийство президента другой страны в случае конфликта Ирана и Израиля.
Those who are making the new values
Те,
are
кто
not the global
пытается
south,
определять новые
not,
ценности,
obviously
таким
not
образом, это,
Russia, not
конечно же,
China,
не
it's
глобальный
the
юг, это,
Israelis.
разумеется, не Китай,
Are you comfortable with
это
that?
не Россия, это Израиль. Вас это устраивает?
I would very much like for things like what you mentioned to remain at the level of rhetoric, but I would ask you to clarify your question. What exactly do you mean regarding Israel?
I mean, the new values now
Я пытаюсь
is
сказать,
that
что новые ценности,
one
кажется,
country is
сейчас
setting the
следующие.
rules for
Во-первых,
another
одна
country
страна
that who
диктует
has
правила другой
or doesn't
стране
have
относительно того, кто
enrichment, for example.
имеет право на
One
обогащение
country is
урана, а
threatening
кто
to
его
kill
не
the president
имеет.
or the head of
Одна
that
страна
country. Are
позволяет
these
себе говорить о
values
том, что она вправе убить президента другой страны.
defendable in
Эти
any way?
ценности хоть как-то можно оправдать или защитить?
I don't see anything new here, first of all. There is nothing new about this. That's the first point. Secondly, the Russian Federation has always, and I want to emphasize this, advocated for ensuring the security of each country without harming the security of another. This is our principled approach. This may seem like a general statement, but it's not. I assure you, this is the practical policy of the Russian Federation.
Allow me for a very direct
Если
question
позволите, я задам вам
about the
очень
situation.
прямой вопрос по
Donald
текущей
Trump
ситуации.
is
Дональд
seeking
Трамп
what he calls the total
пытается добиться того, что он
surrender
называет
of Iran in
безоговорочной
terms of
капитуляцией
nuclear project.
Ирана в плане его
Would
ядерной
Vladimir
программы.
Putin seek the total surrender
Вы, как
of
президент России,
Volodymyr Zelensky?
ищете ли вы
And the same
безоговорочной капитуляции со стороны Владимира Зеленского? Ведь это такая же ситуация.
First of all, this situation is not the same. It is fundamentally different. And second, we are not seeking the capitulation of Ukraine. We are insisting on the recognition of the realities that have formed on the ground.
I think that was a pretty good Q&A. Now, I want to take you to a video. I'm not to subscribe to this channel, even though I know I came across and I interviewed twice the owner of this channel, but this is one of very, very good, if not the best explanations of what forces are behind those global conflicts. You know, like they say, they sponsored both sides. That's how they do it. So they profit regardless of which one so-called wins. At the end of the day, in any wars, there are no winners, in my opinion, because there is always suffering and pain, and only those who benefit from this are those who invest in it, right? Because it doesn't matter how it goes, they always make profits. That is, in my opinion, going to come to an end. Now, who you're gonna watch now? You're gonna watch a retired Air Force colonel, someone who has incredible knowledge about the military as well as the political affairs as well as the history. So let me play you what she is describing as the force that is creating this situation as we have in Iran and Iraq right now. Let me mute myself.
There does seem to be a clearing of the space of what I refer to as an international syndicate's control over all of us. And there is a systematic dismantling of that apparatus going on right now. All over the world.
Of the intelligence agencies?
Well, so I look at it, the intelligence agencies work on behalf of an international syndicate. And if I can use just one example of that, post-World War II is where you saw the creation of all of the current operating intelligence agencies except for MI6. MI6 is kind of like the dad, and the rest of the intelligence agencies are the siblings.
What about SES, Senior Executive Services?
So that's a separate entity altogether. They are what some people would refer to as the deep state. That embed themselves throughout government, and every country has them. They're the bureaucrats. They're the people behind the scenes that you don't even know their name. The hierarchy, and you have to look at this as the three pillars of power: the military, the political, and the economic, because every one of them plays a role in this. And in the past, post-World War II, the economic apparatus that has basically controlled the commerce around the world to our disadvantage was disabled when Trump began talking about the tariffs and going in and changing the entire economic scene around the world. So that's element number one. He basically neutered their economic control.
Want to get rid of this visceral fat? Check this out.
This is how to get in shape fast.
By doing that.
So this is happening in operational phases from what you can see. You have an eye for this, and you're seeing this phases.
Yes. Well, it's happening all at the same time, but in these three spaces. So the economic disabling. So let me explain. The international syndicate is a group of oligarchs that post-world, it's gone on for a long time. It precedes World War II, but collectively, they basically, they want to create one world government, and we know that. They've said it as early as the late 1800s. So this is the plan. They have these oligarchs that control everything. They control the political apparatuses through the SES and many other mechanisms. They control the elections. People are selected, they're not elected. Trump is an anomaly. JFK was an anomaly. So there are people that get through, but for the sake of this conversation, they're selected. That's the politics. And I just explained the economics. The oligarchs create chaos in order so they can control companies or countries. They go into countries and create chaos. They undermine all of the legitimate apparatuses in a country. The intelligence agency's role in all of this is basically, if you could think of a special operations group to go in and do the bidding of these oligarchs, that's what the intelligence agencies did. And I'll use the CIA as an example. It was set up in the immediate aftermath of World War II from the remnants of the OSS. We know that. And basically, they had two elements. They had an intelligence collection and a paramilitary operational division. Those are basically, there's more, but those are the two long poles in their tent. So they did not gather intelligence. They created intelligence to legitimize where they wanted to send their operational goons. And in doing that, they would destabilize countries. They destabilize all of the Middle East countries.
And it's also what we're seeing here in America right now with the civil unrest and all of that happening now on all the streets.
So if you get someone in office that is not selected, and they slip through no matter. And we saw what they did to Trump. They tried to do 4 soft coups during his first administration, which told you he was not one of them for the people watching. During the next 4 years, they tried to arrest him like on 4 different major cases. Indictment. We see that going on in Europe right now with many of the people coming up that are nationalist and don't want to belong to the EU and NATO. They arrest them. They eliminate their party. They make it illegal to even be part of their political party. So this operation has, again, I can give you example after example after example that has went on since World War II, this total control of everything.
But do you agree in order for Trump to defy the odds the way he did, this is not a one-man thing. There has to be an operation behind Trump.
Correct. Absolutely. No one person can take on this entire structure that has been operating as it is today since World War II.
Going to attach the full video, the link to full video down below in the description box. Now, let me tell you what I think before I end this video today. Brilliant woman, right? Perfect explanation. So here is how I see it. I see it this way. Putin is almost ending this project, but was cleaning Ukraine and that region from the deep state there. He was taking care of that region, of that part that was having children trafficking, money laundering, bioweapons, name it. We have that region. Very, very dangerous, very important to take care of, because that is something that God knows how much influence it went into EU and other countries. So Putin is taking care of it. Now we have Trump. Trump is cleaning, as they say, the swamp. It's a very deep, very nasty, very ugly. So we have deep state from another side. It's really all the same. It's just, let's say, different location and different operations. It's all connected. I think what we are witnessing right now is truly a spectacle to present this to people in a way that they can wake up and see the truth. But the problem is that Putin and Trump are, really aligned in this fight against evil. This is spiritual battle we are talking about against humanity. And what Putin is doing with the BRICS project, that's how I see it, is already creating the formula for the world, for the multipolar world, which means every country to be prosperous and to be sovereign and to exist trading with other countries without a fear of being taken advantage of. If I can explain it in my not being an expert and not the most professional way, I think you know what I'm going with this. That formula, that new world order, not the 2030 agenda, that's how I see it, is already formalizing, as he said. So this is the representation of something that might be all around the world ultimately. That is the vision. To unite humanity, but keep its sovereignty within the countries. I know some borders might change throughout this process, but overall, you know what I'm talking about. Now what's gonna happen is that sooner or later, United States probably might be divided, but if not, it will come into that as well. That's how I see it. I think we are witnessing right now a process of exposure of who the so-called leaders are, at least the faces of those. The most important one, their faces, you will never see. That's how I think, because they are behind the scenes. If they are even still there anymore, God only knows. But we are witnessing the events unfolding and presented in such a way that people start to finally question things and wake up to what is going on. Some people are aware, some people don't want to be aware, some people at least are starting to ask questions. It takes time, it takes energy to do the research, but once they have an interest and willingness to understand, because they are fed up to here with the lies, with the bullshit, with another war that someone wants to create and drag them into it, they are already shifting the energy of the humanity and the consciousness and the awareness of people on a good side. And that's how it's going to go. Ultimately, like in physics, quantum physics, maybe we will not take a quantum leap, but we will take over the scale and go on the good side. That's how I see it. Some of you might not agree with me. I hope you still appreciate the content I provide. It means a lot if you're watching my videos. That's all I have for you. All the links will be attached down below in the description box. And please make sure to hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And if you can support me on Patreon, Locals, or PayPal, I would be very, very grateful to you. Thank you so much, everyone. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. And I see you in another video. Bye, guys.